Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's that proud black woman again, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you don't know what we're talking about today, then you're missing. You're sleeping already, okay? So today, I already promised you guys, because a lot of you have been, sneaking into my DMs and asking me, when am I going to talk about study permits and, getting admission and all of that? Because when I release videos, I talk about sometimes immigration, but not in depth. So people would come and ask me questions. So I decided one day I'm going to bring someone that is more knowledgeable than I am to talk about this. And there's no better person than Eddy Osaman. So welcome to my platform. How are you doing today?
I'm glad that you invited me today. And hello, everybody. My name is Eddy. I'm glad to be here today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so I remember I reached out to you. I was like, you know what, I want you on my channel because I've been watching all the things you put up on Instagram. I wasn't sure if you're just doing it for fun or if you actually help people to apply to schools or if you help them to apply for their work permit. I wasn't so sure. That's why I reached out to you. But reading through your bio, I said that it's something that you just do to help other people out, and you have your own job and your own career separate from that. How has that been for you?
Oh, well, prior to this time, prior to being in Canada, I've been a travel enthusiast, and I also have a travel company back in Nigeria where I actually help people, navigate their paths overseas, to other countries apart from Canada and, the United States. But when I came to Canada, and when you are in Canada, everybody wants to know, how did you get there? Can you please help us? So I decided to also extend my tentacles towards helping people navigate to Canada. So what I do on my platform is for free, and I don't charge anybody for it. It's just me helping people, and yeah, that's pretty much
Fantastic. I decided to ask that first before I read your bio so that people will understand like who you are and where we're coming from. So I'm just going to go through your bio so that people can know that the person I brought today is just awesome. Like, it's fantastic. And I want people to be able to learn from your wealth of knowledge. So Adodo Eddy Osaman is a Nigerian publisher, training professional, and youth activist. He graduated from the University of Benin in 2014. He studied Russian at the Novosibirsk. I know I'm going to kill that one. Novosibirsk State University of Architecture and University of Civil Engineering. Osaman has been a well-known advocate for youth and adult education. Is currently the CEO of iGroup Nigeria. Osaman is a travel enthusiast and is also the author of the books 13 Reasons for the Law, Canada Express Entry Bible, and the podcast Travel Street Talk. During the Black Lives Matter movement against racism, he was seen playing some role in organizing the movement in Canada. Osama was also seen commenting on the discrimination Black people face within communities. He was also active when the Nigerian police brutality sparked controversy in October 2020. He's currently a training specialist, mentor, and also help individuals around the world with free travel information. His articles has been published on several news media outlets like Vanguard and Guardian, to mention but a few. If you would love to learn more about my guest, check him on Wikipedia. So welcome once again to this amazing platform that that we've been building for the past year now, and I've been bringing. I don't know if you've been following me, but I've been bringing really awesome people to speak, and we've been learning from their wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for agreeing to come here today. So our topic for today is let's talk travel. So guys, please give me a huge thumbs up as you're signing in, and rep your city, rep your country, wherever you're watching from, put it in the comment section. So I'm here from Toronto, Canada. Put wherever you're from in the comment section and give a huge thumbs up. So Eddy, apart from your professional bio, what are the fun facts about you that you want us to know or that you want to share with us today?
Well, I'm a pianist. I play the piano, and
nice.
After this interview, I'm going to go out. I usually go to our studio where I play pianos every Saturday evening just to give people that symphony. The world is going through a lot, and sometimes we need some cheer. And apart from that, I'm also a cyclist, and I love playing video games. People wonder, do guys play video games? Of course we do, and I do. Yeah, so that's just some of them.
That's fantastic. One thing you forgot to talk about is that you also put some comedy on your channel. Like I always, every Sunday, I look forward to the Jesus and the angel part of it. It's so funny. Like, are you also a comedian? Because I was looking.
Well, I love looking for trouble. Because that was my previous bio. I'm a troublesome person. So when it comes to looking for trouble, generally, I love doing that. So that's the fun part of me. But out there, when you see me out there, I'm always very shy. I love to be quiet and observe, but I'm a very troublesome person, and
That's
that's what you see on
fun.
my profiles.
That's really fun. So, I call my family here Proud Fam because I'm that proud Black woman, and everybody that watches my channel, I call them Proud Fam. So, Proud Fam are here today to learn about, the study pathway to move into Canada. And what will you say about the first steps? Like, if you have made up your mind, I want to go to school in Canada, what are the first steps? What are the things that we should bear in mind before starting the process?
Well, before I come to tell you about this step, I just want to let us know that traveling is, I would say, as a scientist, because I'm a scientist by profession, traveling also falls down to one of the characteristics of living things, which is movement. We move from one place to another, and that's the fundamentals of traveling. So it's a necessity. It's not just something we do for pleasure. It's a necessity for us, and especially for those of us who want to, you're looking for a better life out there, looking for greener pastures. So traveling is a basic nature of living things, of which we are. So talking about Canada, there are some steps I always outline, and the very first step to study in Canada is for you to have a purpose. Like, what do you want to study? And just the way you do in Nigeria or in any country around the world, when you are applying to study in a university, you need to have at least three choices. Like, for example, you want to go for BSc. So you have, let's say, BSc Biomedical Sciences, BSc Public Health, BSc Physical Education. So have three courses and let them be related to each other, and let them also be related to your previous experience, if you have any previous academic experience. Now, when you have those choices in mind, it will help you, look for the best university that would match your experience. Now, Google is always the easiest platform for me, and I've been doing this for more than 15 years when it comes to using keywords of Google to find very specific information. So now that you have at least 3 or 5 program choices, the next thing you need to do, go on Google, target a province. For example, you want to study BSc Biomedical Sciences, let's say in Manitoba. Go on Google, type BSc Biomedical Science Manitoba. When you do that, Google will give you the list of universities or institutions in Manitoba that offer BSc in Biomedical Sciences. Boom, that's all you need. Now, when you have those universities in mind, usually people say, I want to study abroad. You see so many adverts out there, and there are so many fraudulent guys out there. The next thing you need to do is to verify if the university is postgraduate work permit eligible. Postgraduate work permit is your ticket to staying in Canada after you graduate. So you need to be sure that the university or institution that you are going to has that eligibility. And of course, not every institution in Canada is eligible. So if you do not verify for yourself and you just jump into an institution, that's what we call premium tiers in Nigerian grammar. You have just wasted your money. So once you verify that the university is postgraduate work permit eligible, then go ahead and apply. Look into the requirements. I always say this: a university is like a business, and you that's applying, you are the customer, and customer is always king. So don't be afraid to negotiate. If you have the phone number of the admission officer, call them, negotiate your admission requirements. You can negotiate and even bring it down to what you can afford. I mean the admission requirement, not tuition fees though.
Yeah.
So once you negotiate, definitely you can be able to gain that admission. And once you do, you are on your way to studying. And there are other areas though, but I'm just going to stop here.
Right. Thank you so much for that. So I know somebody's asking questions about proof of funds. We will get to that in a few seconds. We just want to start with the ferry fairer because there's some people that want to know about the beginning of the process. So I'm guessing that maybe you've already gone through that process, but just bear with us. We'll get to the proof of funds really shortly. Okay. So my next question is, a lot of people fall victims of getting admission at a college, but unable to get a study visa because the institution is not DLI, which is Designated Learning Institute. Can you explain what that means and how not to make that mistake?
Okay, so like I just explained moments ago, for a school to accept students, it means it's a designated learning institution. But that is not the only requirement. A school can be a DLI, but not PGWP eligible. So people think, oh, this university is DLI, I'm good, I can apply. No, don't do that. It's DLI, that's fine, but you still need to verify if it is PGWP eligible. Once you do that, that is when you can be rest assured that if I go into this university, I won't receive bad news at the end of it. So yeah, a DLI is good, but you still need to verify if the university is PGWP.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my network is a little messed up a little, but so yeah, so DLI is really important, and I think that there's a place on the CIC website as well where you can check for all these things, where you can see if the institution you're applying to is a DLI, and also if it has that postgraduate work permit. So all you have to do, as Eddie said, is go on Google and type the key words, and you will be able to get those information and won't fall victim. So next is, what are the 4 or 5 most important key areas to look into when choosing a Canadian institution? Like the most important things to look at, maybe scholarship or whatever it is that you think is most important to look for when you're choosing your institution in Canada.
Well, I got that word pit from Formula One because I love Formula One. When you do pit stop in Formula One, PITS. So P stands for program. So whenever you're looking at a university, you need to check for the program section. You need to look at it specifically. Does this university offer my program? And looking at the program, you will see the requirements. Do I meet these requirements? Once you do, the next section is the I, which is international students. Every university institution worldwide, they have a section for international students. If they don't, it means they don't allow international students. But if they do, it's going to be there. So you want to look at that international student section, find out specifically what relates to you, because you can, if you don't find the requirements sometimes in the programs, you will find the requirements under international students. Then the next section is the tuition. A lot of people and adverts out there, from these travel agents, they will tell you, there's this university in Canada, it's $6,000 tuition fees, and people are happy. But unfortunately, the tuition is not the only thing you pay for. You pay for your accommodation, you pay for your books, transportation, and of course, when you are abroad, people from home will be expecting you to send money home as well. That part is also there. So these expenses, you need to put them into consideration. And the final part is the S, scholarships. Now, scholarships are of two types. I'm not going to go into that because that whole section is a whole different ballgame. It's a huge section. And fortunately, I've been able to create several contents on my platforms regarding scholarships. So scholarships, so it's PITS, Program, International Students, Tuition and Accommodation, then scholarship. Once you have this core information and you wait with yourself, you should be able to make your decision.
So we should not just go about it is cheap to go to school here and then just jump there. Because a lot of people that come into my DM, they talk about, oh, where can I heard that this province only needs $5,000 or $6,000 for tuition. And I try to advise them, it makes sense for you to be looking for the cheap school, but at the end of the day, is there work opportunity there? Would you be able to get a scholarship? Would you be able to, even the social atmosphere, are you going to be there, pay cheap, and then be very depressed because you can't you don't have anybody to talk to, or you don't have anywhere to go. You're always inside. Or are they racist in that part of the country? You don't know. So you don't just go about that tuition alone. There's so many other factors to consider. So thank you for talking about that. So PITS is something you have to keep in your head. PITS. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, so now let's talk about the application process. When people apply either by themselves or with the help of an agent, how important is it, to keep that line of communication open to the school? Because a lot of people, when they talk to me, they're freaking out. Oh, I applied 2 months ago. I applied to a university 3 months ago, and they haven't got back to me. And when I tell them, did you call them? Did you email? The answer is usually no. So what do you think? Like, how important is that communication between you and the school?
Well, we are in a pandemic, and of course, we live in Ontario, and Ontario has been on lockdown since March 2020. So not just Ontario, basically the entire Canada, and most of these institutions, their officials, they now work from home. People move their phones over to the house to take calls for the university and all of that. So one shouldn't expect things to be as fast as pre-COVID. And not just that, like you said, it's one of the things I advise people to do. Always call. There are phone apps. I know sometimes it's difficult calling overseas because of the credits that you have to buy. There are apps, internet apps that you can put money into and call US, call Canada at a cheaper rate. Talk with your admissions officer, know their time zone, call them, always call them all the time. When they see your eagerness doesn't mean desperation. It simply means that you want to study and they know that they need the money because this is how the government generates revenue too. Like in the US, most universities, for example, they are almost every university, they are reducing their requirements because students are no longer applying and they are losing money. So you can negotiate, you can keep that line of communication open. So if email is not working, always call. There are apps that you can use to call online and get that answer that you need. So you can still keep the communication open.
Yeah, and I feel like a big part of it is also the time frame. So how, like, from your experience, how long do you think people should start preparing? So if you want to come to school, let's say 2020 September, how early should they start preparing? Because that's one of the things that are making people to freak out, because they're looking at, if I don't get the admission now, it takes a whole length of time to get the visa. And then if the visa doesn't come before school resumes, then I might not be granted. So if you're preparing to come study in Canada, how much, what's the amount of time that you need to leave for the planning?
Well, before I give my answer, I always say patience is a virtue. And unfortunately,
We don't
we
have
that
it.
are from that part of the world, we don't have that virtue at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have so many people, they send me messages, emails, they're like, Eddie, I just want to get to Canada between now and September, between now and my birthday, between now and June. I always advise if you want to travel overseas, especially in this time, you need at least 7 to 8 months ahead. Give yourself 7 to 8 months minimum, not maximum. 7 to 8 months minimum. So if you want to apply for the 2021-2022 academic section, I mean the winter section, not fall, because September is already too close. So most universities right now, if you are applying for September, most of them, they are already closed. Admission is closed already for the year. And in a few months' time, in like 1 to 2 months' time, the one for 2022, spring 2022 would start. So if you are aiming for spring, now is the time to start. Spring next year, now is the time. You might still find some universities that still are open for September, but even if you get the admission, visa might be difficult too, because that's another hurdle that you need to cross. So minimum 7, 8 months you need ahead of time.
Okay. That's really true. And for people that also come in to visit, already it's like a year, I guess. When I checked the last time, was almost a year wait time. I don't know if it's the same for the study permit. However, it's really important that you give those time, especially the time it would take to get your application done, the time it would take for you to also prepare for your funds. And I'm going to go to Timile's question. So let's say you've already gotten the admission. what are the next steps? And before we get to this question right here, let me put it on the screen. This question right here, I just wanted to put like a preliminary question that I have, then we'll follow with that. So when an individual has received an admission, there's another huge step, which is getting the study permit and visa if applicable, especially if you already have a visa before. In my experience, this is where a lot of people get it wrong. What would you say about the most important steps to successfully getting a Canadian study permit and visa?
Okay, now comes the dicey part, the critical part. And from experience, I would say what really qualifies you for your visa remains three to four. The first one is having the right financial base. And when I say right financial base, I mean you should have proof of funds to show not just to cover not just your tuition fees, but also your entire academic expenses for 1 year. So you should cover your tuition, your accommodation, and everything, and that is separate. The second most popular one is having solid ties to your country, your home country. Now, a lot of people have problems with solid ties because most people out there, they are using sponsors. And when I say solid tie, I mean there are various types of ties. We have the minimum ties and the really solid ties. If you check, for example, IRCC website, you would see that for those already in Canada, Canada has the way they grade economic or social ties to your country. The minimum one, the ones that are not really significant, they are like having a bank account in your country, having a passport and all of that. But the real significant ones are having landed properties like a house. They specified it. Having a house, assets, real estate. Those things are really significant. And these medium level ties are basically having a high paying job, a registered business in your home country. So when you have that, then the last requirement, which would increase your chances, is having travel history. That has been a factor for so many people because a lot of people are not traveled outside their country. But travel history will not really matter if you are on a scholarship, because scholarship cancels the need for travel history. And in other cases, there are also minor cases where you will not have travel history and you will still qualify for your visa. So it's on a case by case basis and depending on the visa officer that is reviewing your application. And the final one is having a family in your home country that will not accompany you to Canada. So that also counts as ties, but that has really been abused by so many people, so they don't really consider that anymore. But having the first three, which is financial base, travel history, and solid ties, those are the major determinants.
Ones. Okay, so now
And
answering.
yeah, sorry
Okay.
to cut you short. And one more, which is also important. It doesn't count as ties or any of that, but it's very important to your visa application, is ensuring that the program you're trying to study in Canada is related to your previous experience. So, for example, you have a BSc already in medicine. You can't say you want to go and study history in Canada. Those are two very, very unrelated
Distinct.
programs, and it's going to raise a red flag in your application. And one minor factor also is when you study a program that is readily available in your country. If the program is available in your country, the visa officer will wonder, why do you want to study that program abroad? So it's also a red flag too.
Yeah. So with that one, I also have spoken to a lot of people with that, and what I tell them is write a letter of explanation, something like that, to explain the decision to come here to study that, because a lot of times those people, they just follow the rules without, even though they have discretion, they don't use that discretion to think. So you have to explain. Just imagine that they don't know what they're doing. Just imagine and explain everything in a letter of explanation, which you can attach to your application. So that works out well. So now, talking about proof of funds, what are the things that would actually work towards your proof of funds, and how long should your money be in your account and things like that, even after application? Because I know that a lot of people apply, they have, let's say, 10 million naira in their account, and then they apply today, go and take out the money tomorrow. And then they don't check everybody's account and stuff like that. So what would work in your favor as proof of funds is, does it have to be just money in your account, or does it have to be landed property or some other thing? So what would count as proof of funds?
Using your bank statement is the most popular one, but that's not the only way you show your proof of funds. And I also believe those that are watching, or those that will watch this video, they are not just viewers from Nigeria. I believe there are some others from other countries. So I'm going to separate them. Now, talking about the regular study visa, study permit, and you are from any country around the world except Nigeria, Senegal, and Morocco. Because Nigeria, Senegal, Morocco, if you are a citizen of any of these countries, we have a different platform for their study permit application to Canada.
Mm.
Yes, but for the regular application, I would say if you go on ROCC website, you're going to find out that their requirements, the basic requirement is having a bank statement, which people usually use, bank statement for 6 months, and it must cover your expenses for 1 year. Recently, I made a post on that on my Instagram page, talking about if you're an individual or you are a family, how much you need to have as proof of funds. So you calculate your entire tuition for a year, then look at the university website, calculate their accommodation expenses. They usually put it there, like for 1 year, you pay $7,000 or $8,000 for your accommodation. Put everything together, including if you have any family member, there's a price for that, depending on whether you're studying in Ontario or whether you're studying in Quebec, or outside Quebec, because Quebec has a different law and the rest of Canada, they have their own law. So if you are studying in Quebec, your proof of funds should show your tuition fees for 1 year, your accommodation, and if you are adding a family member, it should be around $5,000 for each additional family member that you add to yourself that are traveling with you to Canada. But for the rest of Canada, your tuition fees plus accommodation, then if you have any family member, that's around $4,000. So you need to add those, and that should be in your bank statements. Now, if you are a Nigerian, or Senegalese, or you are a Moroccan, for Nigeria, we have what we call the Nigerian Student Express. It's a kind of fast track platform that the government of Canada made for Nigerians to apply to come to Canada, faster. It's a faster platform. And for Nigerian Student Express, the bank statement or proof of funds that you show, it's specific. It's 30,000 Canadian dollars that must be in your bank account. And they are going to verify. There's a third-party platform called My Bank Statement. It's a platform online. Just type mybankstatement.com. This platform is connected to most of these Nigerian banks. And through this platform, you can have what we call My Bank Certificate. So it's a certificate that you get from your bank, submitted through that platform directly to the embassy, letting them know that you have 30,000 Canadian dollars in your account, and that's about 9.8 million. So when you have that, when you are applying through Nigerian Student Express, your bank statement is specific. But when you are applying through the regular study permit platform, you have to do the calculations by yourself, like I mentioned. And talking about the kinds of bank statement or proof of funds,
yeah.
According to IROCC, bank statement is one of them. There are other ways you can show your proof of funds, and it includes a scholarship letter if you have a scholarship. It can also include what we call GIC. GIC is what we call, is a different word. This does not apply to Nigerians. It's what we call guaranteed investment certificate. It's a kind of investment that you do in a bank in Canada, minimum 10,000 Canadian dollars, and they will give you that GIC. Once you have that GIC, it can serve as your proof of funds. But unfortunately, GIC is not available for Nigerians. It's only available for Senegalese and Cameroonians, because those guys, they have a different platform that is different from the Nigerian Student Express. So I hear a lot of people saying out there that GIC is not available for Nigeria. You can get GIC from a Canadian bank and go to it, but I have not heard from IRCC and I have not heard from the Aussies mouth. So I choose to be silent on that matter. So proof of funds, usually bank statement, and 6 months.
Okay. All right. So, with that being said, would you say that the Nigerian fixed deposit account? Do you think it would work in that aspect in the same capacity as a GIC would work if you have a fixed deposit account in Nigeria?
Well, I wouldn't really say that the fixed deposit account can work as a GIC. In this case, I know people have different accounts, domiciliary accounts, so many kinds of accounts. In this case, I always tell them, reach out to your bank because the kind of account that you may have in your bank might be different from my knowledge base. So the best way to find out if your account would qualify is to reach out to your bank.
To reach out to your bank. Okay, so I hope we've answered the question from Timileyin Adebowale about proof of funds. So my question would be, if you're getting sponsored, does that money have to be in your account or does it have to be in the sponsor's account when you submit? And if it's in the person's account that's sponsoring you, does it have to be 30,000 as well, or it has to be 30,000 plus their own means of survival?
Okay, now, according to ROCC, because I always refer to them, according to ROCC, the words are very specific. If you are studying, the bank statement must be in your name. Do not try to combine bank statements from various sources. You will only make the process more complicated for yourself. All right. So if you are self-sponsoring, you are sponsoring yourself, take some time out. That's what we call crowdfunding. Build your bank statement with crowdfunding, get money from different sources, build it over time. If it's 6 months, build it for 6 months and let the bank statement be in your name and apply. That is the best way. It saves you a lot of stress. But using sponsors, sponsorship is good, but it's not the weight it carries is not as high as when you are sponsoring yourself. So sponsorship is usually good when you are very young. Age is a factor. It's a factor in sponsorship. So for sponsorship, you can use the bank statement of your sponsor, but don't try to combine multiple bank statements from yourself. So if you are using yourself, use your bank statement. If you are using a sponsor, use the bank statement of your sponsor.
Another question that I get asked a lot is, how they said you have to have like $30,000 in your account. Does it make sense to also put your, especially if you're not getting a lot of money from your job, does it make sense to put your pay slip in there? Because I feel like it might raise red flags if you have 30,000 in your account for 6 months and then you're getting paid, let's say 100,000 naira in your pay slip. Then they might start to wonder, so how did you amass the 30,000 in your account? Do you think you should just leave that out of it, or is it a requirement to put your employment letter and your pay slip in there?
Nowadays we have. Let me just say this: we have there are companies out there that actually help individuals build their bank statements legitimately. There are banks out there who do this for a fee. You build your bank statement legitimately, has all the various cash flow, because that's one of the things they watch. It's not just your closing balance. They watch your cash flow in and out. So if you are a low income earner, for example, you're earning like 50K, 30K, 100K per month, and your bank statement is showing like 9 million, 10 million, and they are wondering, how did you build with 100,000? How did you get 9 million? It's going to raise a lot of red flags. So in this case, if your monthly income does not meet the window, you can liaise with some of these companies to help you build your bank statement. And there are some agencies too, which, they allow you to have an account, with them. in the sense that whenever money is sent from them to your account, it's going to look like, okay, you're getting paid from your company. So it's just a way of building your bank statement. So if you are a low income earner and you know definitely you need to submit your pay slips, which might raise a red flag, and of course your pay is low, then reach out to some of these companies. But if your pay is medium to moderate, you're earning well, you can do crowdfunding. People can build your account, send money to you, and do crowdfunding over time. That will also help you apply for your study permits.
Okay. So now if you applied and let's say, God forbid, you get denied, what are the options that are available to such people?
I always say this, when you get denied, don't be in a hurry to reapply and don't run away. We have the flight or fight nature as living beings. So that we fight or we run away. So there's what we call ATIP for Canada, access to information and privacy. An ATIP note is what you apply for. Is a note that gives you deeper insight into the reason why you were denied. So it's specifically for Canada. So if you are denied any form of travels, whether it is visit visa, student visa, work permit, even permanent residency, you can apply for that ATIP or GC. They also call it GCMS. GCMS is kind of related to ATIP, but they are both under the ATIP Act, Canadian Immigration Act. So when you apply for your ATIP note, you should give the specific reason, because it's like an internal note by all the immigration employees that reviewed your file. They put in a very extensive note about your application. And most times your visa denial letter is just generic. They just tell you some gibberish and it doesn't really make sense. But I always advise people apply for an ATIP note. It costs about $5 Canadian. Just apply. Look for somebody in Canada who is in Canada. Tell them to apply for an ATIP for you, and it's going to help you know the reason why you're denied. And once you know the reason you're denied, you should be able to fix it.
Okay, so it's not like there's an appeal process that you have to go through for a study permit. It's just knowing why you got denied and then trying to fix it. So if it is lack of funds, or maybe you took out the money from your account before they went to check, then this is what I did wrong and this is how to fix it. And then what is the time frame that you would advise before reapplying?
Well, the time frame, IRCC doesn't really specify that you can apply after 10 days, 30 days. They can tell you can reapply, but I always advise, like we said, get that ATIP. ATIP might take you about 30 to 40 days for you to get, plus delays from the pandemic. So by the time you get your ATIP, at least it's already like 2 months already. So that gives you enough time to refresh and, reapply. And like you mentioned earlier on, which is also very important, you can also seek the services of an immigration consultant, because there are immigration specialists, immigration lawyers too, that could help you appeal. That's also another very critical area. But most times, if you're not able to get an immigration lawyer, get your ATIP and it should give you insights into why you're denied. So once your ATIP is known and you fix the problem, you can apply immediately.
All right. So before we move to the next question, one other thing that I wanted to address was the issue of a scholarship. So if you get a scholarship, is one of the proof of funds. So with a scholarship, do you still have to prove for a certain amount of money apart from the scholarship that you're able to travel by yourself? Because scholarship might not cover your travel expenses and things like that. And what else do you have to prove if you're on scholarship as proof of funds?
First of all, it depends on the kind of scholarship. We have several types. We have full scholarship. That's the one that you all expense paid. And the partial scholarships are also there. And partial scholarships usually go with all academic levels, depending on whether you're going for BSc, PhD. But full scholarships, most times, they are related to research-based programs. And you can also get full scholarships for BSc if you are applying to a private company, because there are private companies that give scholarships. Maybe people from your region, somebody is very well-to-do from your region, or some companies, private companies, they give scholarships for BSc. But usually, if you are going directly to the university website to look for full scholarships, you usually find out that It is for the higher levels, for the MSc, for the PhD, and for the research-based programs. Now, when you have your full scholarship, if it is full, in the terms and conditions of that scholarship, it's going to tell you what that full scholarship would cover. And most of them, they cover both your accommodation, your school fees, your feeding, and some of them, they even give you monthly stipends. They give you money per month. So if it covers everything, then there's no other thing you need to show as proof of funds. But if it states specifically that it covers only this, and this is the amount, or this is the amount they are giving to you, of course, you need to show more proof.
So if you have a scholarship, have you seen people get denied even with a scholarship? Like,
hardly.
Is there any reason? So
hardly.
So it's like a jackpot. You get a scholarship. All right. So now my next question will be, is there any tips and tricks on how to get scholarship?
Okay, now that is the most interesting part. Well, let me introduce you guys to what we call the U15. I believe some of you must have heard about it, but for those that have not heard about it, U15, they are a group of 15 Canadian public universities, which are very, majorly focused on research. I made a post on that. U15, I would say if you are targeting scholarships in Canada, you have to make sure you're looking at the U15. And you can go on Google, type U15, you'll find the list of 15 universities. Most of them are popular, some of them are not popular. So the U15, they go up to 8.1 billion Canadian dollars every year in research. So, scholarships come from research. When a government or company say they want to research on, let's say, COVID-19, they invest the funds in a university. They'll say, okay, this university, please research on COVID-19. In fact, most of these COVID-19 vaccines that we see, they are from universities. Like, I think Oxford University was the major player behind the British vaccines.
AstraZeneca.
Yeah. So it was a university. So the government or private companies or big farm, pharmaceutical companies, they pay these universities to conduct this research. And when the fund gets to these universities, the professors or supervisors that are in charge of those research, they start looking for students. You see them post on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, on social media, asking for eligible students to apply. Now, when you see yourself eligible, go ahead, contact them and apply. That is how you get most of the scholarships that you are looking for. And there are so many scholarships, I will tell you. I've seen scholarships for bed pool, scholarship on research for bed pool. I've seen scholarship on OWL, OWL, that night bird. Yeah. I've seen scholarships on Beetle, full scholarships. You want to research on Beetle, and they're looking for students. But the mistake that most people make is that they go on general scholarship websites, those websites where they have scholarship, they go on those websites to look for scholarship, and it's very wrong. Before you got there, hundreds of millions of students all over the world, they have already applied to that opportunity. So you'll just be wasting your time. So look for a university, look for a research opportunity in a university that is related to your experience. Look for that supervisor that is in charge of that research. When you are able to reach out to that supervisor, there's a high chance that you get your scholarship.
That's really important to know. So guys, make sure that you go research the U15 and see what goes with your line of study and try to apply. And it's really important to actually reach out to those professors. Go in the LinkedIn, follow them, research whatever it is that they're doing that you also like, and reach out to them. They will let you know if there's a spot, if they're looking. They will let you know before applying at all to the school itself. So now, having said everything about how to get admissions and the application process, getting your admission, making sure that you put all your documents together to be able to get your work permit. So your work permit is now granted. Congratulations, you're coming to Canada. What are the next steps, after getting a work permit and arriving in Canada? What are the next steps?
First of all, in the past, I used to think a study permit is the same thing as study visa. But later on, as I grew in the field, I got to understand that a study permit to Canada is different from a study visa. So basically, when you are applying to study in Canada, what you are actually applying for is a study permit. All right, it's a kind of A4 paper that authorizes you to study. And when you also want to work in Canada as a student, it is that same A4 document that you present when you are applying for a job in a company in Canada. You want to study and work. So it's that same A4 paper. So your study permit is that A4 paper that you are applying for. However, if you come from a country that requires a visa to travel to Canada, that is when a visa is attached to your study permit. So that visa is just for you to travel in and travel out of Canada or anywhere else. But the study permit is what really authorizes you to, to study and also to work. So once you have your study permit and of course your study visa,
Visa.
then the journey begins. I always say this: if you are going, if you are traveling abroad, is basically you're starting a new life. Everything's going to be on a reset. So it's very important to reach out to somebody that is already in your destination. It might not necessarily be in the same province or city, but at least have somebody that you can always reach out to, to guide you and also to, in case of emergencies, too. So that is very important. Then when you're traveling to Canada, a lot of people make these mistakes. It's very minor mistake, but people make the mistake. When people are traveling, especially for the first time, they make the mistake of putting their documents into their check-in baggage. When you're flying an airline, there's what we call check-in baggage and your hand baggage. Your hand baggage is what goes with you, it's like your backpack. For your check-in baggage, you won't find it, you won't see it until you've crossed immigration and everything in your new country. So all your documents, don't let village people push you into putting your documents in your check-in baggage, because when you land at the port of entry, the same documents you presented for your study permit, your bank statement and everything, you're going to still present them at the port of entry. So you don't want to make the mistake of putting those documents in your check-in baggage. And one other, in addition to these documents that you present, one other mistake that people make the mistake thinking, oh, once I submit my bank statement, I've gotten my visa. There's no money for me for bank statement. Bank statement is over. The job is done. I can throw away the bank statement. I can do anything with it. No, the same document you presented at the, for your application, you will need it at the port of entry. So that's one other thing you need to take note of. And once you get to the port of entry, of course, it's just a few questions they're going to ask you, and you'll be able to cross, and you can say you're finally in Canada.
So talking about accommodation and things like that, because when you come in and you've already passed through the hurdle of the port of entry,
Yeah.
would you advise that you could have seek your accommodation before coming, or only when you get here? What would you advise when it comes to accommodation? Because it's really difficult for people to get accommodation, especially if you're new here in the country and you don't have a job and you don't have credit history and things like that. So what would you advise as regards accommodation coming in?
Well, for first timers who do not have anybody, I mean anybody in the destination or location they are going to, I advise applying for the university provided accommodation. And when you say university accommodation, based on our experiences in Nigeria, we use that mindset to say, that's going to be really awful, terrible accommodation. But of course, you know that university provided accommodation, this is a developed country, and the accommodation is top notch. Like if you take, for example, York University, I've gone around the school quite a while, and I can say the accommodation is like you're living in a mansion when you're looking at comparing that to your home country. So university accommodation is the first port of call. So if you do not have anybody in your destination, apply for university accommodation at the same time that you are applying for your admission. Let them know that you would want a residence, because they call it residence. But if you do not want that, you do not want a school accommodation, you want to go out there, then first of all, you would need to apply for, just get Airbnb, I would say. Get Airbnb, which is an online accommodation app. Book Airbnb for yourself for like 3 weeks or 1 month. That Airbnb is, most families, most homes, they list out their, kind of extra space in their houses for Airbnb. So Airbnbs usually are not hotels. They are, You are staying with families in their homes, very cheap, very nice accommodation. You have access to all the equipment that you need. Now, the reason why I prescribe Airbnb for people who do not have anybody and they don't want to stay in a university accommodation is because when you land in and you stay in Airbnb, you have that 1 week or 1 month time frame to do your house search. So you live in Airbnb and you do your house search. And of course, you know that in Canada, when you are searching for a house, you might be lucky to find an accommodation without the landlord asking for
At
credit
least, right?
score.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might not ask for credit score because you are a student. Most of them, you find these accommodations around the university area. So they might not ask you for credit score, but one thing for sure I know they will ask for is first and last payment.
Okay.
Now, for those who are not conversant with first and last payment is basically the first month of your accommodation and the last month that you likely stay before you leave. Most landlords will ask for first and last payment. So basically, you are paying 2 months ahead. So that's for sure. So if your accommodation that you're looking at costs $700 per month, you will likely pay $1,400 for a start. So that's the strategy I always advise people to use. But if you are very lucky, you have somebody in the place you are going to, even if it's not the exact area, but at least in the
Area.
same city,
Yeah.
that's a big bonus for you because it's
Yeah.
going to save you a lot.
A lot, yeah. So one thing I would like to add is there are some places that they have host families. It's just like Airbnb, but it's not. They provide food and everything. They call them host families, and they could even pick you up at the airport. I know they have it in Europe, but I don't know if it's here in Canada. But it's something that is worth looking into. If you can get a host family that you can be with them for a month or two. And I know for people that are also exchange students, they normally prefer to stay with host family. Maybe they're coming to learn English or they're coming to learn French in Quebec so that they are able to communicate with those people and learn the language better. And then another thing that worked for a couple of people that I know is actually bringing more money. Because some places, if you are not able to find a place that they would only accept first and last month rent, if they're so adamant about getting a work, your job letter, or
Yeah.
maybe your credit history, they might ask you to pay 6 months ahead. 6 months in advance is usually between 4 months and 6 months. So it might sound like a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's peace of mind to that if you don't get a job in the next 4 to 5 months, at least
Yeah.
your accommodation is covered. So I know that they do that. They would ask you for 4 months. Because when I just came to Canada in 2015, the same, I had to pay first and last month plus additional 4 months because I didn't have a job the job history and things like that. So you have to be able to, bring money. So a lot of people that would think, well, I will return all the money in my account and then come and then I'll do survivor jobs. Sometimes those survivor jobs don't come that easy. So you have to ensure that you're coming with money in your, at least for the next 6 months, I would say. So now my question now is, you already got your visa. How long before you resume should you come into Canada, at least to get your feet wet and see the scenery and settle yourself? How long would you say before resumption should you arrive in Canada?
Okay, I'm going to see in this case, I'm going to speak in respect to COVID-19 because that's the season we are in right now. So I'm going to speak from that perspective. Prior to coming to Canada, in fact, not every university currently allows their students to travel to Canada. So I'm going to state that before I talk about how long it takes. Now, if you're currently on the way to applying for your study permit or you just got your study permit, there's a place you need to check online right now. It's called COVID-19 Readiness Plan. You just Google that, COVID-19 Readiness Plan. It's going to show you a list of all the institutions in Canada that have a COVID-19 readiness plan. If your institution is on that list, then it means you can travel to Canada. But if your institution is not on that list, then you won't be able to travel to Canada. You have to study online from your home country. So let's assume the university that the person applied to it has a COVID-19 readiness plan. When you arrive, of course, you need 14 days off as for quarantine. And once you have that in place, I would say it shouldn't take maximum of 3 weeks to a month, you should be out and you can be able to study. So I always advise people, if you want to study and you want to travel at least 3 weeks to 1 month before your estimated start date for your classes. So to give you at least enough time to settle down.
To settle down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at least sometimes you have to think of it as sometimes you just absolutely do nothing, because soon you're going to start studying and you won't have the time for fun anymore. So, take that time to go around the place, figure out, the fun things happening around the area. Where's your grocery? Where's the African store? If you're from Africa, just take that time to get to know people around you. That's really important. Now, to what a lot of people have been waiting for is as regards, supplementing your income as a student. Because a lot of people want to know how many hours are they allowed to work during the school session or during the holidays, and as well, what are the type of jobs that they can do as well as students?
Okay. I believe a lot of people should know by now. For those who do not know, you are only allowed 20 hours per week to work as an international student in Canada. The only time you can only work full time is when you are on a long break, or probably you are on leave or something like that. But it's only when you are on a long break, that's when you're allowed to work full time. I'll take for example my company, because I train new employees in my company, and most times I will come across employees who came to Canada on study visa. They are not able to work full time, and they have to, you know, be not employed. Basically, they are fired, terminated, because they don't meet the requirements, and the company cannot hire them because that's the law. Nobody wants to break the law. So no company will want to hire you above 20 hours per week, except you're on holiday. So for those who, I'm not trying to break your heart. I really have to be realistic here. But if you're thinking about, a lot of people have this dream that they can be able to work to pay their bills. Well, it works in certain countries. For example, in Europe, where there are some countries in Europe where you can study for as long, work for as long as you want, as far as you're able to balance it with your studies. But in Canada, US, UK, the law is 20 hours. You cannot work above that. So let's just do the estimate. The average minimum wage in Canada is about $11 average if you combine the provinces together. So 20 hours per week times $11, calculated for a year, compared with your bills, you find out that you actually need support. So you need additional support. If the university is reducing your tuition, or they are giving you full scholarship, or you have family member out there that you can always rely on to give you money, at least have financial source from elsewhere. Don't just depend 100% on what you earn, because what you earn will never be enough. And that's the
Exactly.
reality.
Because that's why I brought that up, because a lot of people, when I talk to them, they're saying, don't worry, we'll jamma. When we come here, we'll just do it and we'll be able to afford everything. We'll, work 1 million hours a week or whatever under the table. But the thing is, it's not that easy. Even think about the stress, the mental health issues, even not being able to focus on your academics. Let's say, for example, you get that under the table work, and overnight every day you're going to work, and then you come back and it's only a little bit, because for under the table jobs they would also give you less than minimum wage or at most minimum wage. So you're struggling so hard, and at the end of the day you end up losing something. It's either you can't do the job anymore and now you don't have a house, you all of a sudden become homeless, or the school that you paid all that money for, you fail, and then you have to redo some courses, and then you have to pay for redoing those courses. So for you to come here, you have to be realistic. Make sure that you save up enough money that at least would land you at least 6 months to a year. Let's say for any reason, 6 months to a year, you're covered with your expenses, with your food, your bills, your transportation. That's really important. So don't just think you can come and then, jama. For some people, they're lucky, they would get those kind of jobs. But for some people, like the majority, it doesn't work out that way. So please, if you're coming, save up that money. Know where your expenses, your finances will be coming from, and don't rely totally on whatever you're going to be getting from working here. That's why when I asked the question, I said supplement. So it's just a supplement to what you already have, not determining that that's all you're going to be focusing your mind on when you get here, because it's not easy. And with the winter and everything, 40 hours a week might look like 50 million hours a week. So it's really important that you make sure you prepare before you come to this cold country. So now, let's say everything goes on fine, you have graduated, congratulations to you. What are the opportunities that you can get to be able to stay permanently in Canada since you're a student? Like, what are the advantages of as an international graduate when it comes to the PR application?
I believe you asked this question previously, and unfortunately, I did not answer it fully. But now that you've asked, I'm going to answer. In Canada, of course, we have about 13 provinces, and some of them, they have very specific qualities. For example, let me talk about Alberta. Alberta, as we know, is the oil bedrock of Canada, petroleum. So Toronto and majorly Ontario, Southern Ontario, deals with technology. Most of the tech companies, you find them here in Toronto, Ontario. So if you are into tech, or let's say if you are into oil, you have no business trying to settle down in Toronto or Ontario because you're not going to find anything. So that can also be a determinant of the province or area that you are looking at. So let's assume you've graduated, and let's also believe that the institution was a postgraduate work permit eligible institution. You know, I always say that.
Yeah.
So once you've graduated, and you usually the school will give about, I think, about 90 days for you to start looking for a job, and apply for your postgraduate work permit after graduation. So around 90 days they'll give to you. So once you apply for that postgraduate work permit, you can be eligible to work full time. So you can now work full time. You can do anything you want to do. And once you're able to work full time, sometimes, Canada, we have full-time seasonal job. I'm not talking about seasonal job. Seasonal job, for example, you are working in a company that sells winter jackets. That is a seasonal company because only in winter period you'll find such jobs. I'm talking about a full-time, non-seasonal job. When you are able to work in a full-time, non-seasonal job for 1 year, that puts you in the Canadian Experience class, what we call CEC. And in that Canadian Experience class, you are automatically eligible for permanent residency. And of course, for most of us that have been trying to apply for express entry, you will notice that since December till date, most of the people that they have been given permanent residency invitations
From
to, they
that
are
class.
people already in Canada. They are the Canadian Experience class. So what Canada is trying to do, they are trying to, clean their desk. We already have so many graduates, international students in Canada. They are CEC eligible. They are eligible for permanent residency. Let's get them in as permanent residents before looking at those that are outside. So for those of you that are watching, you have been wondering, why is express entry not really happening right now? What's really good? Because the government of Canada believes most of the people they need to fill the labor force, they are already in Canada. So they are trying to clear the desk. And it makes more sense because charity begins at home. You need to take care of your people indoors before you go outdoors. So once you have your postgraduate work permit, like I said, you have a full-time job, 1 year, non-seasonal, you should be in the CEC class and can be able to apply for permanent residency. But it is not that easy. I have to be very realistic. It is not that easy right now. Like we said, the government of Canada is trying to clear the desk because we've had so many international students who are graduates, but they are not able to find that job because of the pandemic, that full-time job that qualifies them for permanent residency. You see some working in Tim Hortons, McDonald's, Burger King, they work as waiters and all of that. They are just looking for a full-time job that will qualify them for that PR. So it's not really been easy. So don't just think it's going to be as easy as before. And that also depends on, like I mentioned earlier on, the province you are settling down at and the profession that you studied. It also matters a lot.
So just to reiterate, is the job has to be let's say white collar sort of, because if you're working like a blue collar job and it doesn't fall under the list of NOCs that they're looking for, you still wouldn't be able to take advantage of the CEC class. All right. So there's a question that just came to mind that I forgot to ask as regards when you're applying for your study permit. So a lot of people want to bring their family. They have wives, they have children, or they have husbands, and they want to bring their family. What would you advise that they apply at the same time as they apply for themselves, or wait, get theirs, and then apply for open work permit and visa for their spouse? How would you advise? Because people are scared that if they apply for that person at the same time, then they might be denied because now they don't have ties back home because they're bringing their family together with them. Or should they apply together? Because they always be the Canada is the support of family, bringing family together. So what would your opinion be on that one?
Well, I would say that if they are denied for bringing their families, it could be because they do not have the other requirements that qualify them for the visa, like we earlier mentioned. So bringing your family does not really reduce your visa chances. I would say it rather increases it because, of course, like you said, Canada is a country that supports family values, and it's very important that you have your family members with you. So for those who want to travel with their family, let's assume husband and wife alone, or they have kids. So the good news is that if you, the student, you have a spouse, you can also apply for your spouse to have a work permit. So at the same time that your study permit is approved, your spouse's work permit will be approved. So they can be able to work in Canada and support you while you study. And it can even extend in some cases to any adult member of your family. They might also be eligible for that as well. So I would say, yeah, if you have a family member, your spouse and your kids, you should be able to travel with them. But it all depends on the family.
Yeah. Because I feel like a couple of them is because of the finances. Because now, if you're coming with 4 or 5 people, you have to throw the finances for all those people. And one thing, I don't know if the rules have changed, but I know that if you're applying for a postgraduate, no, for open work permit for your spouse, you don't need to show finances. So some people want to come in first, then get a visitor visa for their wife, and once their wife come in, then they just apply to change it to open work permit. An open work permit is you can work for any employer for anybody as long as it will be exactly the same time as your spouse's study permit. So if they are given 1 year or 3 years work permit, you would also have exactly the remaining amount of that as well. So I think a lot of people is because of the finances that they have to show. That's why they're scared. Like, let me do mine first. Now, talking about the really important part of um, health insurance, because for example, in Canada, every province have their own health insurance, and a lot of them don't include students. It's mostly if you're a worker, or if you're a worker that you're contributing taxes into the economy, or if you're a permanent resident or a citizen. So people are concerned about, what if they fall sick, or what if they get pregnant and they have to give birth, because it's very expensive here. So how would you address such issues?
Well, like we have said, Canada is a very expensive place, and that's the bedrock of the country. There's a sacrifice that we all pay for being in the country, that is paying taxes and all of that. So one major strategy I always advise students is once you land, find a job as quickly as possible, because most companies they have what we call work-related health insurance. So you can also be able to take advantage of those work-related health insurance coverage. And when you also get a job, in some cases, having that job while you're studying can also put you, you know, to an extent under the provincial health insurance, allows you to also apply for that provincial health insurance. So your number one strategy to overcome such barriers should be to find a job as quickly as possible. So you can take advantage of either the work-related health insurance or the provincial health insurance. Of course, it might not really cover for all provinces. And of course, if you are denied health insurance, you just have to pay directly to the health insurance company, which is really a lot of money.
Money. So there's a question here, but before I address the question, before I give you the chance to respond. I just wanted to round up on that. So one trick that I found that might be useful is if you have a spouse here or you have an adult member of your family here that has the open work permit. In Ontario, I found that if they're working gainfully, they can apply for that health insurance. And then in that situation, then you become their dependent, because if they get health insurance, they can also give their dependents. So in that scenario, even though they are your dependent in the visa aspect, then you become their dependent in the health insurance aspect. That has worked for a couple of people.
Yeah, it
So,
works.
so Jason Balogun says, in essence, no entry windows are open currently. I think some people are still getting. I believe he's talking about permanent entry. I guess is it express entry? Sorry.
The
For
entry he's talking about if students are allowed to travel to Canada, like the entry window for students to travel to
if
Canada,
you can
or
clarify, Jason, so we understand better, because for me, I think he's talking, because we're talking about, when you said they're trying to clear the desk, and most of the things, scores they've been releasing has been for CEC. So I think that's what he's talking about, that maybe for people from outside the country that are in the pool, maybe there's no entry window. Is
well,
that what
if
you
it's
mean,
regarding,
Jason?
yeah, if it's regarding that, I would say we pray and we hope that the desk gets cleared as quickly as possible, and so that they can start looking at those outside again. Like a few days ago, the Minister for Immigration, Accommodation, made an announcement. A new pathway has also been released, which, as I would say, has already been filled up like
Filled
a few
up, I
days
know.
ago.
I saw
But
it today.
yeah, but I decided not to even talk about it. I decided not to post about it because my platform is really focused on people outside of Canada. So if I'm posting about opportunities for people within Canada, it won't really make sense to anybody. So that's why I decided to just ignore the post.
Yeah.
But we are hoping that they resume express entry for outland candidates as quickly as possible.
I think that's why a lot of people have been going towards the study, even though they've studied so much, so many countries. That's the way people are coming in now, and because they've created another pathway for another platform for people from Nigeria to expedite their visa or their study permit. So a lot of people are really coming in via that route, and I would say provincial nominee. I've seen a couple of people come in within this year from provincial nominee as well. So that's another platform that I think you can come in through. So study is really important, which is one of the main reasons why we're still talking about that today. So I know nobody wants to study anymore, especially if you had like 2 or 3 master's degree, but if you really, really want to come, then that's like what we have right now. Anytime soon, when everybody gets the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, and the restrictions get lifted, then they might start, bringing in people. I feel like it's mostly because of the COVID issue, because they don't want to bring all those people in and then spread the COVID-19. That's why they really, turned it down, that, okay, let's just give those people within the country. As soon as everybody gets vaccinated, or whoever wants to get vaccinated gets it, and they lift all those restrictions, then I believe they would open, and it would be like a floodgate of people coming in again. So keep up faith. Don't go remove yourself from the pool, okay? Keep doing other things as well, because I know the scores has been really high lately. Keep doing all the things you think that you can use to improve your scores. If need be, go learn French, because now for people, French-speaking people, no matter how terrible your French is, you would get a higher score. So think that there's so many things that you can do to improve your chances of getting in. But right now, things are so tense. So study is the only viable way that I see that is really important, except if you're going through the provincial nominee program. So yeah, that's if you have any more questions, leave it in the comment section. I know we've gone past 1 hour, so I'm just going to acknowledge a couple of people that showed up in the comment section. Thank you, Timileyin Adeboale, Global Ariana, thank you for always showing up. Chris A, thank you so much, and Jason Balogun. If I didn't call your name, it's because I don't have the capacity to see who is online, except those that actually leave a chat in the chat box. So please leave a chat if you want me to recognize you coming on this platform. And this video is recorded. You will be able to come back and watch it over and over again and take some points that you can use to help you in your journey into becoming a student here in Canada. So I guess we're going to be seeing you anytime soon. So thank you so much, Eddy, for accepting to come on this platform and sharing with us your wealth of knowledge. We really appreciate that. And if anybody wants any information, please, if you can type your Instagram handle, or you can just say it as well so that people know where to come check for more information on your platform.
Okay, you want me to type it right now in the chat section?
Yeah, or you can just tell me and I'll type it.
Okay,
For your
so my
IG.
Instagram name is Eddy Osaman, EDDYOSAMAN.
Okay.
It's just right on the screen, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, it's right on the screen. Eddy Osaman on Instagram. Is that the same thing with other? Do you have other platforms that you want people to also check out?
Yeah, that's the same username for Twitter as well. But for YouTube, unfortunately, I lost my, sorry, for Facebook, I lost my previous account. So I'm currently running a page and it's just Osaman Eddy. So it's like switching the name
Switching it.
the other way around.
Okay.
That's for Facebook.
All right. That's really, so guys, you can go look him up there. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody that showed up today. And I hope you've been able to learn one thing or the other. And if you know people that you think they need to learn from this, please share it out to them. And remember, every Saturday, I bring awesome speakers to talk to us about pressing matters. So if you want me to talk about something or you want me to bring a particular speaker, please, DM me. My Instagram handle is at that proud Black woman. So thank you so much and have a fantastic day. Is there any last words that you want us to bear in mind?
Sadly, we are going through difficult times all over the world. So if you find the opportunity to spread some cheer, happiness, and laughter towards other people, please go ahead and do it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And we're out.